Well, hello, everyone. My name is Mo Asadi. I'm the CTO here at Convirza. A little bit about my background. I've lived in a few places. Worked in London. I worked in Stockholm, Sweden, Malmo, Sweden. Went to Dubai. I've been living in the U.S. for about 15 years here in sunny, well, actually very rainy Orlando, Florida here. Next slide, Giuseppe, please. So let me tell you a little bit about Conversa and what we do so we can better understand the use case. We're focused on phone conversations and we analyze the recordings of each of our clients' conversations, all of them, in fact, to produce actionable insights. So we measure specific data points related to both the agent performance and the caller performance or the caller language on the call to then help generate more revenue and generate coaching data. Next slide, please. We started doing this in 2001. The approach back then was the Maculon device that you see on the screen. These screenshots are from an early 2000s ad, so please excuse low quality. The device was an analog device that connects to the internal PBX at a business and records analog phone conversations, which was then physically listened to one by one by humans, and we would produce coaching data that would then affect revenue. We've evolved since then. Next slide, please. And the story is we weren't selling a product, we were solving a business problem. And the key argument there is if you say the right things on a phone conversation from a business perspective, your chances of converting will always be higher. Next slide, please. So a little bit about the history of the company. You see the key point in 2014 is when we transformed to a digital AI-driven company where we start listening to all, well, not us physically, but AI models start listening to these phone calls and ultimately producing more and more data points. And the next important date is actually 2024 when we started working with Predabase and transitioned into small language models. Next slide, please. We have a case study with one of our customers, Wheeler with Caterpillar, where within 90 days, we've achieved 78% conversion increases. And that really demonstrates the value of measuring these data points and taking action against them. Next slide. You might recognize some of these brands. These are customers that use our technology to have more meaningful conversations with their customers. Next, please. We've analyzed over 1 billion calls in our 20 plus years in business. And we continuously analyze millions of calls on a monthly basis today with Predabase. And next slide, please. We measure hundreds of different data points, including agent performance, things that the agent says on the call, proper greeting, offering the business, asking for the business, scheduling appointments, etc. And then on the client side, we also look for buying signals. And as a result, we're able to provide a numeric value, a representation of the lead quality. And as a result, that ties back to the fact that did a conversion happen? And if we have a high quality value and no conversion taking place, the argument is if someone picks up the phone, they're not really a lead. We categorize them as a prospect because a lead is someone who fills a web form, but a prospect is someone willing to pick up the phone, ask about a product and service, and is ready to transact on that phone call. So they should be treated with in a special way. The same applies to someone who reaches out over the phone from a customer service perspective. These are typically individuals that either have a question that needs to be answered that is time sensitive, or it might be a bad review that is about to happen. So they need to also be treated with caution. In fact, we had a CEO of one of our customers, and I met with him a few months ago, and he said, "Great, you're measuring all these different data points, but here's what I really care about." And excuse the French. He said, "All I need to know is, do my agents give a crap about what's happening on these calls?" Literally. And the answer was, yeah, we created that insight for him. It is called Give a Crap, and it is something that he personally takes a look at once a week to know how well his agents are doing, and we saw a direct correlation to conversions. Next slide, please. So just to sum it all up, right now we're able to measure as many data points as our customers need, and these are fully custom, so literally unlimited insights. We look at both the agent performance and the caller performance. We take action against these insights, both from a coaching and a revenue perspective, to recapture lost revenue. And we analyze every single phone call that our customers get. With that, next slide, please. Let me introduce you to Giuseppe, our VP of AI. I had the pleasure of working with Giuseppe about 17, 18 years ago now, Giuseppe, in London. And now I'm extremely happy that he's on my AI team. So Giuseppe, take it from here. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mo. Yes, happy to be here. It's great to be working with you. I think now it's been probably a year we've been working together again. I started my career in the software development, experience with e-commerce, fintech, worked in legal tech, and about 7 years ago, I switched my focus on ML and NLP. In fact, I worked for A&O Sherman, one of the biggest law firms in the world, and also a pioneer in ML and generative AI. Let me talk a little bit about the AI stack at Convirza, or what was our AI stack. We traditionally been an AWS shop. We used to have SageMaker to power over 60 different different models to perform near real-time data extraction and classification. First language model was BERT in 2019, state of the art at the time. We transitioned to long format in 2021 due to the extended context that long format was bringing. I guess a couple of years ago, things radically changed. ChatGPT came about, and I think shook a little bit all the industries. And I think we can say that actually it has raised the bar. It has raised the expectation of our clients. It has also raised the expectation of our own internal stakeholders. For us, it's really the things like the ability to explain why we give certain scores, or extract the passages where the agent could have done better. Well, this actually brought also some challenges. When you're dealing with millions of phone calls every month and a growing number of insights, this is not sustainable. It's very costly. And we also found out that it doesn't always produce the most accurate results. So this leads to what are the AI challenges that my team is facing? is the ability to, first and foremost, the ability to create bespoke indicators that are sustainable, they make commercial sense. And also the ability to manage an ever-growing number of indicators for different industries and different clients. This means we need to be able to fine-tune and deploy models rapidly. Those need to be highly accurate. And obviously, to manage the scales, we have to have a repeatable process. We need to be able to explain how these models or these adapters came about, what is their lineage in terms of training data, their parameters, and so forth. Also, when dealing with phone calls, you have unpredictable traffic patterns, and we need to be able to scale our infrastructure to handle the traffic, but also scale down when it's not needed to save costs. And last but not least, also the ability to ingest the variable size text. As you can imagine, phone calls vary from a couple of minutes to sometimes even an hour. So on the left-hand side, you can see the number of indicators that we created internally just in the last 6 months. And although not all of them are actually in production, this kind of indicates the kind of the trend that we're having. On the right-hand side, you can see the volume of calls that we're receiving. And although there is a certain seasonal pattern, you can see there are some traffic bursts, some peaks, and that requires our infrastructure to scale rapidly in order to have near real-time actionable insights. So about 7 months ago, we asked ourselves a question: can small language model outperform the big players? So we started our research and we tried a few of the small language models, and we compare we fine-tuned them with LoRA, and we compared the results with OpenAI. And what we found out is that actually they are significantly more accurate than OpenAI when fine-tuned with high-quality data. We actually found Llama 3.18 billion, which is minuscule compared to OpenAI in terms of size. Is actually stood out with an exceptional ability to follow instructions just out of the box without any fine-tuning, and also having a large context window. When compared to long former, a few things that actually came out. And although long former actually could achieve reasonable high accuracy, that actually took a really long time to train. It took hours, many hours, and sometimes also days. It became really clear that the small language model have lots of the world's knowledge baked into them. And therefore, they can be trained with fewer epochs, with smaller but highly curated, very important, there is a good data set. And they can achieve better performance, so in a much shorter time. When it came to the serving infrastructure that we had every single model deployed on their own auto-scaling infrastructure. So as we scale to more models, that actually incurred in significant cost increase, but also complexity in managing the infrastructure. And this kind of led to our partnership with Predibase. We started our research using the open source LoRax, and at the same time, we run a POC with Predibase, and it became clear after a month or a month and a half that actually partnering with Predibase actually made commercial sense. It would have allowed us to focus on delivering actionable insights and analyzing the data that comes from that, and actually letting Predibase manage the multi-cloud scalable infrastructure. So when we started the POC, we set some goals. We had a latency goal of sub 2 seconds. We needed hundreds of inferences run a second. We needed a hybrid setup where some of the GPU instances were on our own VPC, and additional scale was provided by Predibase. We really wanted to prove that we could run as many adapters as we wanted on a single GPU. So we set as a target 60 LoRa adapters to be run on as few as one single GPU. And this is in stark contrast with what we had before. But also we needed the ability to handle the high bursts of traffic and therefore on-demand GPU provisioning and scaling up to N GPUs as needed. And the scaling had to be done within a minute. So it had to be really fast. We needed to have a node up and serving in a short period of time. What is the effect of moving to Predibase LoRax adapters? So on our training pipeline. It has streamlined our training pipeline. It's made it simpler. It can run on commodity hardware because the heavy lifting is actually done on Predibase infrastructure. When it comes to data preparation, we take care of it. We prepare the data set, we version it, and we upload it to Predibase. We then scheduled the fine-tuning job, and we got the choice of the typical hyperparameters of a LoRa fine-tuning, like rank factor, learning rate, target module. Once the fine-tuning is complete, we evaluate the model with an unseen data set and report the key metrics. Deployment. Once a model is fine-tuned, once an adapter is fine-tuned, is actually ready to serve. And that means that deployment is just the configuration change. But it also has got some other subtle and interesting consequences. We can run, easily run A/B testing. We can easily do canary releases because the newly trained model and the existing model, they can run simultaneously without incurring an additional cost. And therefore, we no longer have the decision to make when we decommission the old infrastructure if we wanted to run the two in parallel for some time. And this leads to the monitoring. In effect, it enhances our monitoring, and we monitor the throughputs of the model. We monitor the latency and any signal of data drift. And we do this in a combination of dashboard on the Predibase side and also on Convirza side. I mentioned before in the POC, sub 2 seconds inference time. We actually have a 0.1 seconds inference time, which is exceeding our expectation. We analyzed the 3 platforms, OpenAI, Longformer, and Predibase, against our current workload. And you can see that Predibase brings a 10x cost reduction when compared to OpenAI, while bringing an average 8% higher F1 score and an 80% higher throughput. We then went to analyze as we scale to the number of indicators, how the cost compared. And as you can see, both OpenAI and Longformer costs increase really rapidly. And while the Predibase costs, they are much more gentle, and they scale at a much lower rate. In effect, the marginal cost of a single adapter is practically 0. And we see an increase in costs to maintain the throughput and the latency required. So where are we heading? We strive to deliver high quality, near real-time insights at sustainable costs. And we want to allow our clients to create bespoke insights and really improve their performance by really analyzing the data, unlocking correlations, and all this results in higher revenue. I think partnering with Predibase is allowing us to focus on innovation while Predibase can handle the model infrastructure scalability. And that ends my presentation. I'm not sure whether, probably don't have time for Q&A, I'm not sure, but if you want to reach out, take note of our contacts and feel free to reach out.
Great. Awesome talk, Giuseppe. We are pretty tight on time. I love the use case, so many different, adapters served on one model to power all those insights. Just one maybe point of clarification, because someone did ask, what does an indicator mean to you? What does that mean? How would you define it?
An indicator is a data point that we capture from a call, and that measures something in a call. That could be, for example, the agent built credibility throughout the call. So that would be an indicator. Or did they take ownership? So it's probably, I would say, is a question that we ask, and we measure with a number.
Got it. So it's essentially each one of those indicators is a different insight, and you're serving all those fine-tuned adapters to power those indicators on Llama, right?
That's right. Yes.
Great. That's awesome. Very cool. All right. Well, we're tight on time. Thank you so much for sharing your story. The questions that we didn't get to, I saw some folks had questions. Giuseppe, I'll send them to you after, and you can follow up. People are definitely interested in your use case, and we're just thrilled to have had you here.